There's a myth about success, a story we're told from the beginning, that it's a solo race, that the winner is the one who outworks, outsmarts, and outlasts everyone else, that the summit has room for only one. I believe that story. I lived it. For years, my identity was the lone wolf, the scrappy founder, the one-man department. I built a career on being the last one in the office, on having answers no one else did, on guarding my playbook like it was the Holy Grail. And it worked, until it didn't. Because here's what that story doesn't show you. The loneliness at 2 a.m. when you're facing a problem too big for Google. The creeping dread when a huge opportunity lands, and your first thought isn't yes, but how on earth will I do this alone? The quiet resentment watching others succeed, thinking, that should be my spotlight. I was rowing as hard as I could. My technique was perfect, but I was exhausted, isolated, and the horizon never seemed to get any closer. I was trapped in a model of success that was actually designed to burn me out. Today, I want to show you a different way. A way based not on competition, but on a fundamental law of nature. And it starts with understanding why going alone is the slowest way to get where you want to be. Let me take you back to my island. That's what it was. My successful, well-fortified island. I'd landed the account, the one I'd been chasing for a year. I'd beaten out 3 established firms. It was a pure, solo victory. My strategy, my pitch, my late nights. When I got the call, I pumped my fist in an empty apartment. This was it. Proof the model worked. But then the real work began. 14 deliverables. 5 stakeholder groups. A timeline that was already aggressive. And one brain to manage it all. Mine. The client was my dream. The workload was my nightmare. I had become the bottleneck for my own success. I was the strategist, the creative director, the account manager, the copywriter, the quality control. I was a one-person band, and the symphony would start to sound like noise. The worst part? I couldn't complain. This was what I'd asked for, right? This was winning. Have you ever been there? That quiet moment of panic masquerading as pride, where you climb so high alone, and you realize there's no one to pass you the next rope, and the only way is down. I was the king of my island, and it was the loneliest kingdom on earth. Human instinct is fascinating. When we feel threatened, when our resources seem scarce, we don't open the gates. We build higher walls. My response to the overwhelm wasn't to seek help. Help was for the weak. My response was to compete harder. I became paranoid. That brilliant freelancer I followed online, not inspiration, a future rival. That colleague in a different department, a threat who might steal my methodology. I started writing memos with confidential, stamped on slides that weren't that special. I hoarded contacts, tools, even ideas. My coworker asked, "Hey Kai, that client presentation was brilliant. How did you build that interactive timeline?" I reply with, just hacked it together. Lots of late nights. Gave non-answers. I played my cards so close to my chest, I could barely see them myself. And in doing so, I committed the cardinal sin of the solo grinder. I confused secrecy for strategy. There's an old proverb that says, "He who builds a wall around his well soon drinks only his own shadow." I was so busy fortifying my position, I was cutting myself off from the very nutrients I needed: fresh perspectives, challenge, synergy. My work became repetitive. My solutions became predictable. I was in a feedback loop of my own diminishing returns. The walls I built to protect my light were casting me in permanent shade. I was running faster and faster on a treadmill, going nowhere, proud of my sweat, ignoring the fact that the room around me was empty. And then the storm appeared. Not a disaster, but an opportunity so vast it threatened to capsize me. Project Ether. A legacy brand wanting a complete, ground-up reinvention. Digital ecosystem, brand film, global campaign. The budget was transformative. The creative freedom was a dream. The timeline was impossible. My heart raced. This was the pinnacle. And my very first gut-level reaction was a sinking feeling in my stomach. A cold clarity. I cannot do this. Not like this. Not alone. The spreadsheet, the deadlines, the sheer number of specialized skills required, 3D animation, ethnographic research, performance marketing. It was a mountain and I had a teaspoon. I had two choices. The old Kai's choice, politely decline. Protect my island. Stay safe, small, and in control. Or a new, terrifying choice. I stared at that email for an hour, and I realized something profound. This wasn't a test of my ability. It was a test of my model. My do-it-all-myself model had a breaking point, and I had just found it. Project Ether was a wave that could either swamp my little boat or teach me how to sail. To solve a new problem, you need a new law. I found mine not in a business bestseller, but right here. A rising tide lifts all boats. We say it, but do we believe it? We live in a world that celebrates the lone genius, the self-made story. But look at nature. Redwood trees don't grow tall by competing for sunlight and isolation. Their roots intertwine to create a network that supports the entire forest against the wind. Geese fly in a V formation, increase their range by 70%. They take turns leading. KI, this is the physics of collaboration. Synergy. 1 + 1 is equal to 3. It's not spiritual, it's mathematical. It's the creation of a new value that did not and could not exist separately. My 100% plus someone else's 100% doesn't make 200%. It creates a new equation. My scarcity mindset saw the world as a fixed pie. If you get a bigger slice, I get less. The collaborative model sees the world as an ocean. When we combine our energy, we create lift. We raise the water level for everyone connected to us. Project Ether wasn't a pie to be split. It was an ocean we needed to navigate. And for that, I needed a crew. The theory is beautiful. The practice is terrifying. It starts with the most vulnerable act in business, the honest ask. I found Julia. Her work was everything the project needed. Emotional, cinematic, alive. My old script screamed, she's a threat. Copy her style. Do it yourself, but worse. The new script, the one based on the tide, whispered, her skill is your complement. Your vision plus her craft equals magic you cannot conceive alone. Julia, your piece for Atlas Studios left me speechless. I've landed a project to reinvent a legacy brand, and its soul needs a kind of narrative motion only you provide. I'm handling the brand strategy and story architecture. Would you be open to a conversation about bringing that story to life together? Hitting that button felt like jumping off a cliff. I was exposed to my need, my incompleteness. I was admitting publicly, I cannot do this alone. But as the proverb goes, the journey 1,000 miles begins with a single step. This message was my first, trembling step off the island. Her reply wasn't just yes. It was, this is incredible. I've been wanting to work on a project with this kind of strategic depth. Let's talk tomorrow. This is where the alchemy happens. This isn't outsourcing. It's co-creation. Julia asked, what the brand film doesn't just tell the history, but we visualize the data of their growth as a living tree? I reply, yes. And the rings of the tree could pulse with each major innovation. That's a strategic narrative right there. My strategy gave her animation a backbone. Her visual ideas forced my strategy to become simpler, more powerful. I had to explain my thinking with such clarity that it stripped away all the jargon. In teaching her the why, I understood it better myself. We hit friction, of course. She loved an aesthetic I thought was too abstract. Instead of dictating, I asked, help me see it. She walked me through her references, and a new, hybrid idea was born, one far better than either of our originals. We weren't just combining our parts. We were building a new engine. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. I had to be ready to stop being the only teacher in the room. When I did, I found teachers everywhere, in Julia and soon in others. We became a small, fierce pod rowing in perfect rhythm, and the boat began to fly. CHP 7. Project Ether didn't just succeed. It became a landmark. And something else happened. Something I never could have planned. Leo, our data guru, connected us with a fintech startup. Sam, our wordsmith, needed a strategist for her passion project and introduced me. Julia was asked for a referral for a brand strategist, And my name was the only one she gave. My solo island didn't just get a few visitors. It transformed into a busy, thriving harbor. I was no longer a lone rower. I was a captain in a flotilla. We are a network of sovereign specialists. We flow together for big missions, like a pod of whales. We support each other's solo journeys. We share leads, insights, and credit with an abundance that once felt naive. The fear that collaboration meant less money, less credit, less control, was the biggest illusion of all. By sharing the map, we discovered continents I never knew existed. The tide we raised didn't just lift my boat. It created a new sea for all of us to explore. And the most beautiful part? There's always room for another ship in this harbor. If you're still here watching this final frame, it means you recognize something. Maybe it's the exhaustion of rowing alone. Maybe it's the quiet suspicion that there has to be a better way. Maybe you're already a captain, looking for new ships to join your fleet. Here's what I need you to know. This channel exists because I believe the flotilla isn't just a strategy. It's a movement. Every week, I break down the frameworks, the mindset shifts, and the real, messy stories behind building success that actually lasts. Not hustle porn, not toxic grind culture. Just honest maps for people who want to go far and go together. So if this video lit even a single candle for you, here's how you can raise the tide with us. First, hit that like button. It's not about vanity metrics. It's the signal. The algorithm sees it and says, more people need this. Your single click becomes a lighthouse for someone else who's still rowing in the dark. Second, subscribe. Not because I want a number on a dashboard, because I want you in this harbor. I release deep dive story arcs like this one, full narrative journeys, not surface level tips. You'll get the next transformation, the next framework, the next captain's log. Tap the bell so you don't sail past it. One last thought. A few months ago, I was a king on an island, wondering why my kingdom felt like a prison. Today, I'm a captain in a harbor that grows every single day. You just watch me transform. But here's the secret. The real transformation didn't happen when I landed Project Ether. It happened the moment I clicked send on that message to Julia. Your harbor is waiting. Your crew is out there, right now, wondering where you are. All you have to do is lower the ladder. I'll see you on the water.